Donnybrook is made possible by the support of the Betsy and Thomas Patterson Foundation and the members of 9PBS.
I guarantee you, we will not be here 4.5 hours before the disappointing ending, okay? All right, too bad, Cardinals, but you made the playoffs. Alvin Reid sitting in for Charlie Brennan on Donnybrook tonight. Got most of our usual cast. We got Wendy Wiese from KTRS, founder Bill McClellan from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch in Austin, Texas, and all over the country. Ray Hartmann, another founder from rawstory.com, writes column for RFT2, and Joe Holleman from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Welcome, Joe. Okay, across the United States, school board meetings are being tumultuous, maybe not as bad as St. Louis County Council meetings, but there's a call for maybe the feds to, look into some of the behavior at these school board meetings. Joe, good, bad, indifferent?
I think it's a bad idea. Not that I think it's a good idea for these school boards to be threatened or anything like that. But, I mean, Big Brother is Big Brother. And I find it hard to say that it's good sometimes for it to come in than others. If people show up at a school board to express their displeasure, it's a public board. If they're making threats, I believe that there are, as local law enforcement, that's their job, to take care of these things without calling in the federal government to start hanging around to monitor school boards. And anybody who has any notion of fearing Big Brother, which has long been a liberal position, should fear this just as well. I don't want to get into a position where, well, we don't mind Big Brother as long as we agree with Big Brother. I think that local issues should be taken care of locally. I have problems with state officials telling city officials what they should do about masks. Has nothing to do with what I think about wearing a mask. As a local resident of a community, if I don't like the people who are making the decisions, I can vote them out. But I don't need the state or the federal government to say, we're going to step into this because, why? Because now it's okay? I think they should stay out of a lot of things, and this is one of them.
Well, generally, Joe, I would agree with that, except the school boards are being bullied and the threats, and I don't know that the local people, like local sheriffs, can do anything. I mean, sometimes you have to say there ought to be federal statutes, and if there's one protecting school board members from threats, I think that's, I have no problem with that.
But it's also, there's a bit of a potential, at least an interstate, and I agree with you that you can't just be jumping on people because they're mad and expressing their First Amendment right. That the issue is violence and intimidation and threats, and a lot of those apparently are coming in a fairly organized sort of interstate fashion, which is where the feds would come in, I think. Because I agree with you, I think it's a local issue, but when it becomes a national effort, interstate, using the phone, using interstate communication to kind of coordinate this, that's where really this has become a national issue. And the best example that's becoming national is now all the politicians, Caleb Rowden in Missouri just decided to jump on the pile by writing to the Missouri counterpart of the national, it was the national school boards that asked for this on a national basis. So I don't disagree with you about local enforcement. I think that there's a reason it became national.
I think there is an attempt to paint these school board meeting participants as domestic terrorists. I really do. I think that this is a continuation of January 6th. And I think there is, obviously, as there is in all things, a little bit of political theater there. But I do agree with you, Joe. I think that if it can't be handled locally, then we've got bigger problems.
And I think the point where you say about laws, there are local laws against threatening people and intimidating people.
Right.
And local law enforcement has an obligation to enforce those laws. And I heartily support them in doing that. I just don't think the federal government needs to be involved on a let's pick and choose one from column A, one from column B basis, or let them get involved in everything and just say, Big Brother, run it all.
Well, no, we have federal laws already, Joe, and it's not necessarily Big Brother to say there's certain things that we're just not going to let go on. And I think one is intimidating school board members. Education is so vital, and I think to just say that, well, if we're going to protect school board members, that's big brotherism. I don't think it is.
And I don't think anybody's calling all the. Let's face it, January 6th was domestic terrorism.
Well, I'm not. Of course it was.
Of course no one's suggesting that every person that gets mad at a school board is a domestic terrorist. The point, though, is that this is a national effort, and it's often coordinated nationally to intimidate and threaten people, and that's where the federal government does have a legitimate role. When
I think the federal government, Merrick Garland in his memorandum even says, I think the federal government realizes they don't have a role, because what he's suggesting is that they form partnerships with local and state enforcement, because he's recognizing we really don't have a constitutional role in this, but let's go ahead and make one up anyway.
All right. Well, Joe, just one thing what you said about how, like, we want Big Brother until we don't want Big Brother.
Right.
Isn't that true of most issues in American society? I mean, I don't think the state should, like, shoot coyotes until there's one in my backyard. Okay, then, like, gun him down. So, I mean, it's just kind of, we're all like that. And there's a lot of issues. Now, these are hot button issues right now, but I don't think, you know, we could put into a category like, oh yeah, let's pick and choose, because we all pick and choose. And school board members are elected. You're elected. And if you're an elected official, there's some federal protection for you. I guess the idea has to be, you know, are crimes being committed, and, you know, from there we go. Speaking of crimes, the Rams left. I told everybody they were going to leave. So did the Rams, but nobody listened. All right, so they're gone. All right, so now they're being sued. And they're trying to, you know, move this trial out of the St. Louis area. Now, Bill, whatever happened went down here. Shouldn't the trial be held here?
No, you know, I dislike Stan Kroenke and Walmart as much as any St. Louisan, and I hope that we get billions of dollars out of the NFL. But it just seems inherently unfair to have the trial here in St. Louis, where Stan Kroenke is the most unpopular person imaginable, and where the people on the jury will stand to indirectly gain money. I mean, part of the billions we hope to get from the NFL. I mean, how can Stan Kroenke and the NFL get a fair deal in a St. Louis courtroom? I just don't see that.
But every court to this point has denied their motions to move the trial. I have, as a former season ticket holder, I have absolutely no problem with my brothers and sisters who are devastated.
You could be on the jury.
Sitting on the jury.
Right. So are you going to say that when they ask you,
yes,
should you be a juror?
Absolutely, I will.
Rams? What Rams?
No, in this case, I defer to the courts, and if they say that it's fair, then it's
fair. Well, these are
the
local courts, though, right, Wendy? I mean, the local
Missouri
courts say,
State.
yes, we can do this fairly. And I think even the Missouri Supreme Court has said, yeah, let's have this in Missouri. But I think if you look at it more even-handedly, you'd say that it's not fair to have our brothers and sisters saying this.
I love the fact that, first of all, you have to give the obligatory. Now, I hate Stan Kroenke.
Right.
We gotta all say that. Let's all stipulate. Nobody here likes Stan Kroenke. And then, of course, I had the great Mike Wolf on my show on the Big 550 KTRS at 9 o'clock. And he made a point. He explained to me that it's very unlikely, and I kind of share the view that it doesn't seem fair. He says it's really a hard proof to say that you can't find a panel of jury, which is essentially 18 people. As he said, they've got to be able to show that you cannot find 18 citizens in the city of St. Louis that don't have a particular bias about this. And so it's really unlikely that the Rams will fail. And I pointed out to him, I remember times in the Dome where you couldn't find 18 people that liked the Rams during a game, you know, back in the bad days.
Yeah.
But I think that it's really, what you're saying makes sense, because it just, you know, and I'm wondering if maybe it'd be grounds for an appeal or something if they lost. But the idea that you can't find 18 unbiased people is probably a long shot for the Rams.
I would just say this, and I'm not equating the two, and I'm not being really humorous about this, but okay, so let's just flip the script here and not make it like an all-white jury, but like if I was a white person who was charged with a crime and they said, well, we could find 18 black people that, they wouldn't be biased against you. You'd say like, oh no, wait a minute, hold it. Right. And I think the Rams kind of feel in that situation where they're basically saying like, this is stacked against us and this is not fair. And I threw that question to you, Bill, but I am in agreement with you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I just feel like this is not fair. And ultimately, our entities were going to pay more money because this is going to be thrown out on appeal, and then we'll start all over again. And I would just rather move it, get it settled. Let's
I
be
think
done.
it's going to
That's
get
the
settled.
Dallas Cowboy fan.
Yeah,
in
well,
you,
true. And I
the
don't care about
Packer
look,
fan
wait,
in
look,
you,
right,
the Packer
Packer
fan
Well,
in
he's
you.
a real Packer
No,
fan.
if
But
Jerry Jones had to come here and testify, all right, I would put a sleeping bag in front of the courthouse so I could be there every day.
everything he
I would
said.
take leave of absence from
Yeah,
work.
yeah, I know.
would just do whatever I needed to do to be in that courtroom
Agreed.
that day. And I would have my Roger Staubach jersey.
Alvin,
on.
I think you
All
said
right.
the magic word settlement, because I don't think those boys. There's great lawyers. My one thing is Mike said, great lawyers on both sides of this, on both and from St. Louis, really top flight. No, but I can't imagine. That one ruling they got that said if they lose and there's punitive damages, which might be a long shot, these guys are. Can you imagine Kroenke and Jones? All these have to expose all their financials.
Yeah, they're
That's
personal
the whole
finance.
I
point.
think, and what's smart about what St. Louis is doing is I think they're really positioning it to where the NFL just about has to do some kind of settlement. And if they throw any money
Well,
at St.
Rob
Louis
Raines
at all,
said last week
why-
they don't have a choice. They have
if
to settle.
And really, and if you're St. Louis, really, we have a pretty thin case. I think you have to take it too. So I think it's going to end up being settled.
All right, I hear you. Okay, well, we've settled on a new zoo director. And he's a gentleman from Chillicothe outside of Kansas City. Said he was just enamored with the St. Louis Zoo as a kid. I don't know if he ever came over here, but he was running San Diego, which is recognized maybe as the best zoo, in the United States and the world. I think we're right up there with him, but he's coming here. But what he's bringing with him, as Ray pointed out before we, on the show, they charge a lot of money to go to the San Diego Zoo, and we don't charge anything. Wendy, what do you think he's going to bring with him to St. Louis in regard to free forever, as I like to call it?
I would not be a bit surprised if a local, or at least somebody from Missouri, is used to make this more appetizing, because I think that is an undeniable part of our future. We have had it so good for so long that they're going to roll it in powdered sugar before they propose it. But that's why I think this man is coming. I really do, and I think he loves the zoo. But I think when you look at all of the money that is being left at the gate, that has to change in 2021.
Well, maybe I'm being Pollyannish, but I think that the zoo will remain free.
I hope you're right.
I think that it's
I
such
hope
an
you're right.
integral part of the community.
Yeah.
And, and they can zing you on parking and to ride the train. And, they can make money. And the Zoo Museum District provides money. So I don't think that he's going to do it.
That's why it's not free. That's why it's not free. I mean, in other words, this myth that it's free, it's just not. I mean, the people and there's a couple big differences.
Compared to San
First of all,
Diego.
I don't think this guy, the gentleman, sorry to have his name, the gentleman from San Diego, the fact that he's coming in, I don't think it's going to change anything short run at all. But in his world, there's virtually I don't think there's any dollars, as there is in most communities, provided by the taxpayers in the city and county. I, by the way, am for remaining forever free for those who pay the freight. I believe it should be forever free for the residents of the city and county and any other people that want to join the taxing district. So, and it's also, so let's be clear about that, and for members of the zoo. So I am for forever free. What I'm not for is forever free for tourists who would spend about $10 million, I think, is what I heard calculated, that we're leaving at the gate. Now, the thing you should know about San Diego is a family of 4 pays $200, and this man's worth $200 to get in, and people, we couldn't get that, okay? But I think if you look at the other zoos around the country, we could probably get $80 to $100 from a family of 4, which is kind of the range of a zoo like St. Louis. We could get that all day long from tourists. And why we think it's beneficial not to is beyond me.
Well, the only experience I have with another zoo, because having the one here in St. Louis, when I go to other cities, I don't put that high on my list to visit a zoo. Well, I go see a lesser zoo
when you've got the
when
best,
I've got this one. But one time, in relation to a story I was doing for the Post-Dispatch, I was in Cincinnati 10 years ago. They have a very high-rated zoo. San Diego and St. Louis are usually 1 and 2, battling it out. Cincinnati's in the top 5 in the United States. It was $35 for adults, and this was 10 years ago. So for a couple with no kids, was $70 plus tax. So I think whether there's a plan to do it or not, I just don't see. You talk about a plan that would just, we would be talking about nothing on Donnybrook but the outrage and turmoil
There would be
if you
people.
tried to charge or to just walk into the art museum.
Yeah.
Right.
And I agree with Bill. You know, if you got to do it, it's $10 a soda or whatever. I mean, fine. But the notion that people could come, just walk in and look at the animals for free. Anything else you want to charge them, go for it.
Right.
But just to take your kids there, as I did many times when my kids were little.
Oh my
Nothing
gosh.
to do, run them up to the zoo, we'd go in, run around. Maybe we paid, or maybe we said, no, we're not going to buy the sodas here, they're too expensive.
Right.
You know, and just go get a drink out of the water fountain. But I mean, I just think it would be a plan. I think it will remain forever free because I think they will run into a brick wall lined with lead.
It's just, if you want to work with 20th century tourism in the 21st
But
century,
that's fine.
That's fine, but
I
I'm
think
saying it should be free for us. I'm not arguing with you
but
about
the
us.
beauty-
I'm saying, why do you want tourists from San Diego to get in free? It makes no sense.
Because Ray,
It
of the
makes
people
no
that live
sense.
around us in this metropolitan area,
Right.
okay, the same reason that people from the city of St. Louis and the county and anybody else in the taxing district, okay, maybe we do, we comes out of our taxes in some way, shape, or form. But you kind of make it sound like if you don't, from this immediate area, you got all kind of money to pay for the zoo. The beauty of the zoo is you can be impoverished and live in Franklin County or St. Genevieve or any place else. And there's a little something that if you get here, you could take your family to something that's world class, be it the museum, be it the zoo. You know, like, listen, it doesn't matter where you're from. Some people don't have the money to do it, and that's our gift to the world. And we don't. St. Louis doesn't give. St. Louis doesn't give very many gifts to the world.
Whether it's the short term or the long term, that's my prediction.
The tourists of the world are not impoverished. You could make any kind of deals you want.
But you're not a tourist if you get here from Pacific. You're not a tourist if you get here from St. Genevieve.
First of all, if you talk about the surrounding counties, they should have the opportunity at a discounted rate to join the district, which, by the way, would be a good way to solidify its future. And St. Charles and Franklin and Jefferson counties could do that. And they can also join for a very nominal fee.
But they
the
wouldn't,
large
Ray.
percentage of people we're talking
Why would
They
they?
would not do it.
Alvin, the large percentage of people we're talking about that come are not poor people. They're tourists with money.
No. Now,
That's not true.
You don't know that.
Yes, I do.
You do not
can look at
know who is in that zoo at any given
I'll write
time.
about it and lay it out because they keep good track of it.
That's
How do they track
They
that?
track it, zip codes when people come in. They have all kinds of.
How do they know what zip
I
code
have
you're
never
from?
been asked for my
The
zip
zoo-
code when I go to the zoo.
I've never
We'll
been
look
asked
it up.
my zip
The
code.
zoo keeps a very sophisticated count.
Well, but they don't. They can't tell exactly who's coming in.
We'll
right?
see.
Oh, wait.
I'll
No, like I said, now that breaks down demographically.
I'll do
What?
a
You said
count.
like, oh, okay, all right. Yeah, you're dressed nice and you're a whatever, okay. All right, speaking of zoos, St. Louis County Police Department. Sorry, St. Louis County Police Department. Hey, a trainer, or if that's the right word, God, we're on the zoo tip here, aren't we? You know, somebody who instructs incoming officers when they're doing their training. I used, I guess, some language that was sexually orientation-wise not correct. Ray, I mean, what do? We don't know what this person said or how they said it, but should there be termination? Should there be change? What can we do when we hear something like this?
Well, the acting chief, Ken Gregory, is a lieutenant colonel, who I think is probably the best bet to become the permanent chief, although we'll see how they go about this. Did the only thing he could do. And again, I don't know the specifics of what was said, but this is a county police department that has set some kind of modern record. I mean, running the table. We've got, obviously, the county settled for, was a $20 million verdict,
Keith
and a $10.25 million judgment with Keith Wildhaber for sexually discriminating against him for the LGBTQ level. Mary Barton, who left as police chief, got a settlement of, I think, $290,000 for sex discrimination. We've got Troy Doyle, who, by certainly everybody I know that is more knowledgeable than me, thinks should have been our next police chief. He's currently suing the county for racial discrimination. So we've got sex, race, and now an LGBT discrimination. When you have that kind of track record, if this is some contractor who apparently, I don't think just used a word, I suspect conducted himself in a way, I think Chief Gregory did the right thing.
And I put myself in the position of I want to agree with Ray. And I do, if that was the case. I think this is yet another case of where a lack of transparency upon police throws this out there for people to imagine. And the first thing when I read these is I think, my God, there's someone using this language in a classroom of recruits in 2021? Okay, if so, gone, goodbye, see you. Or was it part of some training?
Exercise,
hazing?
thank you.
And maybe it was or wasn't, and I'm not saying, but just let the police department share some information, but they have become so insular. They have circled their wagons so tight that we're not gonna let anything out. And once again, it lets people, well, it probably was a hazing, or it was probably a person who's a racist or a homophobic. Why don't you be clear about the exact circumstances of what happened and let the public decide? I mean, it's real simple. Then this wouldn't even be an issue on this show.
Hey, I hate to agree with you back, but you're right about that point. We don't have much information, and there's no question about that.
And anybody, you would think, any trainer, any instructor who is coming into the St. Louis County Police Department would have done their due diligence, would have done their homework, and would have known full well what they were walking into, especially the lawsuits and the chaos of the last couple of years.
Yeah, well, I would say this. To my face, the worst I've ever been racially insulted was when I pledged to fraternity. Okay, and that's just my fellow, brothers.
Sure.
Right, and so I get it, but we weren't there and we don't know. What we do know is about 11:30 last night, the Cardinals season ended. And if you'd have told us all, hey, you're going to finish 6 games out of first place in the second wild card and then lose. Successful season, Ray?
Yes.
Real quick, we only got a minute.
Yes, except that we only finished 19 games ahead of the Cubs, which is not that good.
Right.
But overall, with that streak, it was successful.
Yes,
successful season.
Absolutely successful.
Successful season.
Absolutely.
Successful season.
For the Cardinals, yes.
Oh,
no, I'm serious.
It was
I'm
not
serious.
a successful season. What are you all talking about? Wait a minute.
Well, I remember 2016 when the Cubs won the World Series. Alvin, and that's still in my mind.
Well, you only have one World Series to remember, Bill.
It's pretty easy. Yeah.
If we don't finish 25 games ahead of the Cubs,
we are spoiled. We are spoiled.
No, I mean, come on. The streak will be remembered as is so distinctive that you're right. I mean, we expect to win it, but I think that they made the playoffs again for.
Yeah.
And Adam Wainwright showed. He's
man,
the man.
Was he
exactly.
Oh, he's the man. He's the man who, well, he didn't lose the game, but they lost, y'all. And we finished the second wild card. If in spring training you said this is how it was going to end, we would all have been disappointed. So, all right. So when they fall apart next year, I don't want to hear any complaints.
Oh, wow.
High standards. We're the St. Louis Cardinals. High standards. Speaking of which, next up, our guest is Betty Jo Rocchio, Chief Nursing Officer of Mercy. We're going to talk about, there's nursing shortages, and we've got all kind of problems, but there's also some good news. So we'll talk about that with her, and let's take a look at the mailbag. Emery Cox 4, cancel culture is not real. We can't even cancel Eric Greitens. Kyrick 31, cancel culture is very real. People are afraid to say what they think, except on this show, Donnybrook. And you can send your letters or correspondence to care of 9 PBS, 3655 Olive Street, St. Louis, Missouri, 63108. Donnybrook at 9pbs.org, and tweet hashtag Donnybrook STL. You can find us wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And we found Joe Holleman with us this week. Next week, Charlie back in this chair, myself back in that chair. Thank you very much, Joe. Thank you guys very much for watching.
Donnybrook is made possible by the support of the Betsy and Thomas
Thank you for joining us. Donnybrook Next Up. Tonight, we're joined by Betty Jo Rocchio. We're going to talk nursing this evening.
Yes.
Share our title with us, please.
I'm the System Chief Nursing Officer for Mercy, so.
Okay. Well, I think we've read and we've heard that nurses are going through a lot right now, and God bless all of you. But if there's anything you wanted to just tell the world about what you have done and those you work with, what would it be?
Just what a tremendous experience this has been, like nothing else before in the profession of nursing. You know, when you think about nursing students coming out of school, they've done it under unusual circumstances, and they're coming into the profession at a time when nursing is changing. And even our experienced nurses have trouble adapting, but the new nurses are really having to work hard to get into our profession in the right way.
All right, well, first, thank you for your service, as we say in a lot of contexts.
And it's for real. Yeah, that's
no, I mean,
exactly.
And one of the things we're hearing about nationally is that there's actually a tax on healthcare workers and nurses, and physically, I mean, and who just months, you know, certainly no more than a little over a year after everybody was rightly extolling your work as heroes on the front lines. I haven't seen that specifically. Does it actually get physically difficult either from, well, in your line of work right now in St. Louis?
It does, because when you look at nationally what's been going on, our country is under some unrest. People are struggling with who they are. We've changed up the workplace. There are so many changes, and as you know, when people go through changes, there is a bit of unrest, and this is no different in nursing. So these patients are coming into our hospitals, coming into our outpatient centers, and they need our help. They're anxiety-ridden as it is. Things are uncertain, right? They weren't like they were pre-pandemic, and so yes, we are having a bit of just unrest, and patients are becoming a little bit of violence in our hospitals, and our nurses are struggling to react because they're tired. They are overworked. We'll get into that a little bit, I'm sure. But that sets up a situation where we have to be on guard and have things in place to help our coworkers, our nurses, our physicians cope with a little bit of that. Well,
I know national story was in, I guess, in the Branson area. Hospital staff are like wearing like panic buttons. Is that something that might be coming here, or have you considered it, or you're not quite there yet?
We're not quite there yet, right? St. Louis is unique, but you know, we do have the ability to get security and staff to our units quickly, but they're not wearing panic buttons. But we have areas throughout the hospital where they can get help quickly buttons and things. But we always had that, but we're hyper vigilant about training for it now.
Okay, I'll just follow up. Let's go back to late 2019, maybe fall of 2019. Were nurses aware, were hospitals aware, kind of, while the rest of us were kind of like, I don't think it'll be that bad? Were you kind of being alerted to it's coming and we have to get ready? Was there that kind of thought throughout hospitals and in nursing?
There was a thought of it. I don't think we knew how bad it was going to get at the start. We knew that there was a bit of uncertainty, right, on how this was going to progress. But think about it. It's like 18 months later, right? And we are still, you know, in the throes of it. We didn't realize there were going to be 3 surges of this. So we thought it might be a sprint. It ended up being a marathon, and it's still going on, right? We don't quite know what's around the corner.
Can you quantify the shortage in St. Louis? And I don't know if you can talk about your own system or St. Louis, the nursing shortage that it sounds like this is, we've heard about nurses burnout for a long time, but it sounds like this is really becoming acute. But sometimes, you know, that's why we have you here to tell us how big a problem is this right now?
So this really is a huge problem nationally, and St. Louis is just following suit to that market. When you take a look at the number of nurses coming out of nursing school, we have a small shortfall going on here. But here's the thing, and people don't realize this because now we're getting a lot of attention. This has been going on for about 10 years. A slow trickle of being shorter, and the pandemic has really sped up that because nurses left the profession, they've taken other jobs, as well as they've started to travel. So when you talk about travel nursing, it takes the nurses out of your market that you were planning on keeping, retaining, and it sends them around the countryside. And so it's a lot of movement, which creates even more shortfall. So it's really like a cascading effect. And we are in the middle of it right now, and it doesn't seem to be settling down.
Well, if I could follow up.
Yeah.
You talk about the 10 years past. What do you think of the 10 years futures? I mean, I know you didn't bring your crystal ball tonight, but what are the 10 years future looking like if we've had this much of a challenge for the past decade?
Well, that's a very good question. I don't see patients needing less care. There's 2 ways to solve this problem. One is that people get healthier and stay out of the hospital. The second is we produce more nurses. In the next 2 years, the predictions from the Bureau of Labor are we're going to be short about 1 million nurses around the country. We can't educate and get enough nurses out. If everybody signed up for nursing school today, right, it takes 4 years to get out of school. We're going to hit that 1 million short regardless of what we do. The question is, how do we deliver the very best care with less nurses, but more ancillary team members helping us? We're going to have to figure this out. This is what's in front of people that are in my job description. We're going to have to figure this out. And there's no sense of doing it separately. We should be banding together and taking a look at what workforce looks like for us. So it's going to happen.
Okay, for those that like have not ever considered going into nursing, okay, and you say it's 4 years. All right, I'll take journalism as a thing. Yeah, you know, let's go back 10 years or whatever, and the whole like journalism is dead. Nobody, blah, blah, blah. But there are still people that are interested in it. They're majoring in journalism and they want to get a job. Maybe there's not enough, but there is some interest. How do you increase that? How do you have to reach back into high school, middle school? How do you say like, hey, A, this is a good job. B, it has good benefits. C, it has good pay. D, you don't want to talk about retirement because you want to work for 50 years. But is that the way to create more nurses? Is that part of the strategy?
That is a piece of the strategy. That's very smart on your part to think of it. It really is going to be a piece of the strategy. And it's about listening to nurses. What do they want? So we're no longer afforded what we want in healthcare. We've got to figure out how to meet the needs of the nurses. And we've always been trying to do it. We're going to have to be hyper vigilant about that. It's no longer, hey, how can they meet our needs? We're going to have to watch what they need and design the care and the care model around our nurses. And that is going to generate interest to get people into nursing. The other thing that we're doing is working with our nursing schools. So this is a partnership between academics and our hospitals and hospital systems. So we're taking a look at how do we get inventive about letting more students into our clinical environment to train them. So we don't have a shortage necessarily of people wanting to go into nursing, probably like journalism. We have a shortage of nursing instructors that can train our nurses. Don't forget, it's a lot of clinical time in the environment, teaching them how to give medications, right, assessments. So you're not sitting in a classroom, you've got to be able to sit in a classroom, and then there are ratios to teach nursing students. And that's where we're struggling, so we're partnering to figure out how do we use some of our nurses, train them to be able to be clinical instructors on the job, and take more nurses into nursing school. And so we've got several innovative programs going on right now in our health system in all 4 of our states to be able to generate that interest. So it's interesting, right? We're gonna have to be innovative.
All right, Betty Jo, I'm sure you would have liked to get out of here without this topic, but let's talk about vaccines and how they're impacting your world in a couple of different areas. One, obviously there's a rather surprising, to those of us not in the profession, number of healthcare workers and nurses that don't want to get vaccinated, which I can't even comprehend. And then there's also the question, some people are suggesting that the unvaccinated should not be being treated, or at least should take a lower priority than those who are vaccinated, because they're filling beds that in a scarce situation are needed. What are your thoughts about vaccines in those two contexts?
Well, you are journalists, so you understand that the country's having a movement against either vaccinated or unvaccinated. Nursing's a subset of that population. So you know a piece of the answer. But our nurses some of them don't want to become vaccinated because they don't believe there's enough evidence that it hasn't been out long enough. Others believe, hey, we've got to protect ourselves, protect our patients, we're willing to take. It is a little bit of a risk, right? We have data for about 18 months or so, but that's all we have. And so, we're getting that reaction from nurses and caregivers saying they don't want to take the vaccine, but a lot of it is, I'm hearing, they don't want to be told what to do, right? They want to be able to take a look at their bodies and make those decisions. And this is the age-old question of common good versus individual preference, right? That ethical dilemma that goes on in healthcare all the time. And people are on different sides of the fence. And we have to respect both, understanding that we have to protect our patients. Number one, when you come into a healthcare facility, you should know that you're not gonna leave sicker than when you came in. Nobody's gonna spread that. So that's where mercy is. It's the common good. It is the right thing to do. We understand some people don't wanna do it, and there are other places to work. We would love to not lose some of our nurses, but we also understand it's their choice.
So do you have a mandate?
Yes, we do. We have a mandate that all of our employees are vaccinated.
And there's not an opt-out for getting tested or something, right?
There's not an opt-out. Now, if there's an exception due to religious or medical reasons, right? There are reasons why you would grant it, then yes, they will be getting tested weekly and they have to wear N95 masks in the clinical areas.
But you have the mandate, sorry, and so is that costing Mercy Nurse? We talked about, I don't know how many nurses you're losing, but I'm sure you might. But
I know.
You going to tell us, or is that something you keep?
No, I can tell you. I mean, I'm open
I
to
didn't know
share.
if it's public. I mean,
It's not necessarily public, but we're all going to, it's not just Mercy,
Right,
right?
right.
It's everybody, right? Well, so in the height of the pandemic, and it's not just because of the vaccinations, it's people moving around and going traveling. You know, we have been losing about, 160 nurses a month.
wow.
So, but that's across 4 states, don't forget. I mean,
Right, but
that's
that's
not
still
just
a-
one hospital, yeah.
That's net?
That's net about 160 a month. We had a turnover rate of about 18% before the pandemic, right? There's just movement in healthcare. We're about up to 23 to 24%. But do you know what it looks like nationally? It started around 18 to 19%. They're up to 30% nationally of that turnover. That's just movement, right, of people moving around to different places. So I feel lucky to be in an area of the country that's only experiencing that 23%, actually.
Okay. I'm going to come back to the traveling, movement and kind of that. But the one thing is, all right, to be a nurse with no pandemic whatsoever, you had to be vaccinated for like measles, mumps, the same. The vaccines that we had to have as kids, and our children had to go to elementary school. Nurses had to have those vaccinations, correct?
Correct. You are correct.
And no muss, no fuss, right?
No muss, no fuss, and don't forget, flu vaccine is the most. We mandate the flu vaccine. We've been doing it for about 4 years. That without some people have exceptions to certain things, but yeah, it's the same principle.
Yeah, and no knockdown, drag out about that, huh?
No, well, in the beginning there was a little bit,
All
but
right.
everybody went, okay, we get it, right? We get it. Yeah.
Okay.
And everybody's fairly compliant with that. No issues, right?
Okay, so when you say traveling or movement, just to another job, I have another job in another region, my spouse is moving, I'm going to, or is it I'm in pursuit of like another career or that part of the turnover? Explain that a little bit more.
Yeah, so there's such a thing that's been going on called agency nursing. So there are agencies out there that hire nurses, right, in there, and they move them to different areas in the country. They take 13-week assignments, let's say. And so they sign up with a travel agency. They move them around the country.
Oh, okay.
And you pay a premium for that labor. So I have travel nurses in Mercy right now, and I'm paying a premium to replace my nurses that are leaving to travel. You can see the issue here, right?
Yeah.
We're paying more for the same labor because nurses want, number one, flexibility, and number two, to be paid that they want to make that rate. And the pandemic kept a lot of their spouses at home, being able to provide childcare, right? People are working from home, and so many nurses have decided to, we call it travel assignments. They're signed on with a company, and they move around the country working.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much of this is generational? And I answer, I'm very proud to be addressed as okay boomer very often. And it seems like there's 2 parts to that problem. One is that boomers, who are a large generation, are now sadly hitting the age when they might need a little more care. And then you also have the factor that many nurses are boomers, and they're getting to retirement age. How does that factor into, does that exacerbate this situation even more with all the other stuff you talked about, obviously COVID and so forth? Is that a big factor, the generational part of this?
It is. There's more baby boomers. We're getting older. I'm on the cusp of that with you.
You're not. You're not
I'm
there.
inching up on you. I'm inching up.
No, you're not.
I'm on the other end.
Right.
But think about it. And we probably haven't taken the best care of ourselves in this country. And so we're seeing chronic health conditions come up. And there's more baby boomers. People are living longer. Good for us, right? But with that comes chronic disease that's going to set in, right? Our bodies are wearing out. And so we need more care. So it's the patient demand. Plus, nurses aren't going into it at the rate that they were. We've got that nursing school issue we talked about. So you understand both sides of that equation is impacting this. And then the cherry on top is everybody going to travel agencies. So there's a lot of movement. Training nurses to get oriented to the work in your hospital, it's a large job. And so, they got to learn the way that you do things, how you provide care on the units. It's not a, hey, we hire you today and we're going to put you on a unit and you're going to do it tomorrow. So there's that training time that occurs. And so it really slows down that process. So it's both. You're right, it's both.
Okay. Well, all right, talking about age, all right. Now let's talk about kind of geography. within your 4 states in which you cover, I'd imagine that you have hospitals just like here, which are counted as metropolitan areas, okay? But you probably have hospitals and facilities in rural areas.
Yes.
I would imagine whatever the problems we have here are more acute there. Am I correct in saying that?
You are 100% correct, because there's less people, right? So one travel nurse that leaves, I'm going to say Ada, Oklahoma, right? It's hard to replace them, and we have to get in a travel nurse to replace them, right? And let's face it, if there's a national shortage, supply and demand, you know, those smaller areas sometimes are harder to place people because, you know, they're in Florida, Texas, you know, vacation area spots, Hawaii. When you're short, you're short. So, you know, there's that, right?
When you're short, you're short. Yeah.
When you're short, you're short.
Yeah, you're talking with 2 people that have like folks
Well,
in Oklahoma, so yeah,
Yeah.
we've been there, done that. Right.
I thought she was just doing a short joke. But the, I'm sorry.
No, I was
Let me ask you, I forgot what I was going to ask. Speaking of the age, I forgot what I was going to ask you. What about mental health issues in the, are you having to, and you've been doing this a little while, as a boss, an administrator, and so forth, is that something that's having to be a bigger line item in your budget than it was 5 years, 10 years ago?
Yes, absolutely. Complicating the mental health issues, what's making it worse is social determinants of health, poverty status. How do we treat people in our emergency departments that are coming in that can't get care any other way? And you're seeing it more acutely in the emergency rooms because they're showing up, they have nowhere to go for care. Oftentimes they have no resources, and we have to help those people, right? We're not going to turn them away. So we oftentimes become the mental health provider, the behavioral health provider, and with all this going on, like we talked about, you're seeing more and more issues like this.
And all right, so here we are, like metropolitan area. I would imagine that the nurses who work here see things that nurses who work in other areas, maybe not rural, but let's just say, you know, suburban, okay? When you come into it, is there a certain amount of training that you get to prepare you for where you work, as opposed to if you worked out there, you would see some of the things you see here, okay? And then is there compensation or something that says like, yeah, I will do that as opposed to doing it there?
Really not compensation, right? Because all nurses experience some type of hardship regardless of what type of nursing they're doing. But what we do is we've had to provide more training for those nurses. So we use something called MANT training, and it's a de-escalation of violent behavior. So we try to prevent it when we can. If it occurs, we try to de-escalate it. And then we have security in all of our hospitals.
Okay.
And they are trained in more advanced techniques. And so we have help, but we are training frontline nurses to de-escalate a lot of that violence.
Do you feel like that, how can we say that, like, do you find that the nurses, like, I don't want to say want to do that, but I want to do that. I want to be this type of nurse. I want to be there to help people when they are injured by violence or you know, domestic abuse or things like that. Do you find that you have nurses like, that's what I want to do?
Not only do we have nurses that enjoy that, they make a specialty of it, right? So mental health or behavioral health nursing. But in St. Louis and our larger metropolitan areas, you're exactly right, we have specific programs led from our ministry that we produce the education needed to become those type of nurses. We don't get a lot of specialized training in nursing school. So when you get out, whatever type of nurse you want to be, it's kind of up to us, but we have behavioral health nurses that, honestly, they are special people because they jump in the line of fire and take care of all these things. And so our ministry realizes in our suburban areas that it's a huge problem, and so we have a specialty dedicated.
Betty Jo, you referred earlier to supply and demand. And I guess the question I have is Obamacare, which a lot of us think is a good problem. Missouri just recently got dragged kicking and screaming into expanding its Medicaid rolls by 275,000 people, which means more people are going to get health care. And how big a component of that is we've talked about the things that, cause nurses to burn out and kind of contract the supply of nurses. How much more health care is the profession having to provide for the right reason, which is that more people are getting access?
Yeah, that's a very good point. So a study just came out today that said during the pandemic, there was about an 8% increase in this country in cost per patient day. And so when you take a look at it, if it cost $1,000, say, to take care of a patient in nursing care, 8% more today than it did yesterday. And it's because people are staying longer. We have people that need that mental health, behavioral health type of care, and they're staying with us longer. We have to keep them until we can get them help.
As a follow-up, if I can, what would you like to see from your perspective? It's kind of moot, but what the states like Missouri, which are now presenting, like I say, unhappily from their perspective, the government's providing more access to health care. What can a state do or other governmental agencies do to compensate for that?
So in the middle of all this, you have to understand the payer model that goes on in our hospital systems. So we're moving towards, you probably hear all the time, value-based care, right? Value-based purchasing. We're being held accountable for quality metrics, which is perfect. That's exactly the way we should be, right? We should be paid based on how we're treating people and how they are. But what you're understanding here is we take care of a lot of people that have no insurance. So we're providing free care. And the states and the government are struggling to find the health care dollars to pay us for that care. But it's a good thing when people get covered, because then we're not stretching as far in our hospitals to provide that care. So it's a health care problem, and it's really a balance of who's paying the bill for the people who don't have insurance, and how can we provide that care faster with better outcomes at a lower cost. And so providing the care means we're still going to have to be efficient and have effective care, but at least we're getting paid from the state and the government for it. So it's a good thing, but it's causing problems for all of us, right? The healthcare budget it's going up, right?
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what. Now I'm going to say, like, my Aunt Janie, my late father's sister, longtime nurse in St. Louis, lives in California now. Hi, Aunt Janie. But anyway. Nurses who are now out of the profession, do you reach out to them and say, like, hey, do you have any questions? Can you help? Maybe not coming back, but like, do you fold them in and say, like, would you like to come back and talk, or would you like to maybe convince some people to go into nursing? Do you use people like that, We do. So that's very good thinking, yes. Especially during the pandemic, we created something called a resource nurse. Nurses that maybe left the bedside and they could be working in quality or education, and those that have retired, right? They're still nurses. Once a nurse, always a nurse. Okay.
So Aunt Janie,
all right.
Aunt Janie still knows her stuff. She might not be able to chart the way we chart in Epic and all those things, but your Aunt Janie probably could work some circles around, some people. So yes, we use them. We provide them with the training they need during the pandemic, and some things has changed. But yes, they can jump in and help us provide care with our other nurses who are on the front lines, and we're doing it in most of our hospitals today.
Okay, we got less than a minute. Anything you want to tell the people out there?
I just want to thank people in the St. Louis community. They've done a wonderful job of masking, helping us when we've been overrun in the hospitals. And just know that we're doing our very best for you every single day. And it's a partnership, right? It's academic, it's community, and we're all providing patient care. So,
thank you so much. And I would say, have mercy.
Oh, I love that.
And I would repeat my thank you for your service, because it's amazing what you've been through and what you continue to do for the world.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I've enjoyed spending some time with you today.
Absolutely. Hey, we would not have gotten through this without you and the help of so many nurses and doctors and professionals.
That's
All
right.
We call ourselves professionals. We're going to get out of here. Thank you for watching Donnybrook Next Up. And Donnybrook, see you next week.
Donnybrook is made possible by the support of the Betsy and Thomas Patterson Foundation and the members of 9PBS.